Hello YouTube viewers and random Toy Story fans. Much like Pokemon or Power Rangers, I was at just the right age when the first Toy Story movie was released, and naturally, like a lot of 5-year-olds around the world, I was instantly captivated by it. After all, what kid hasn't dreamed of their toys being alive? Of course, the other thing that mesmerised me was Buzz Lightyear. Naturally he did. He was designed to be the coolest toy ever, and that's exactly what he was. And I wanted one. Unfortunately, every other kid on the planet felt the same way. However, no toy producers wanted to make toys based on the one seen in the movie, as they thought it would fail. There'd never really been a fully 3D animated movie released on this scale before. But one company took a chance. Thinkway. And boy did it pay off. Their Buzz Lightyear was the biggest selling item of Christmas 1995, which made it very hard for my parents to pick one up. And so for Christmas that year, I got these two tiny Buzz and Woody figures. They weren't exactly what I wanted, but I was happy enough with them. Then, a few months later, one of the greatest moments of my childhood happened. It was just an ordinary day. My mum had picked me up from school and I came home and sat at the dining room table to do my homework. She then said she had a surprise for me when my schoolwork was finished. So about an hour or so later, I saw her go out to our garage, and when she came back, she had a Buzz Lightyear! A Buzz Lightyear! For me! It wasn't Christmas, it wasn't my birthday, I hadn't won an award or saved a life. It was just a regular run-of-the-mill day, and I was being given a Buzz Lightyear. My tiny mind exploded. And yeah, I loved him and played with him all the time, but not to sound ungrateful, I was a tiny bit unimpressed. The Buzz in the movie had karate chop action, massive extending wings, and a wrist communicator. This one was very, very basic by comparison, and I hated how tiny his wings were. Plus the helmet didn't fully collapse like in the movie, and eventually I just removed it altogether as I thought he looked better without it. Of course, these issues were all down to the fact that the toy had to be mass-produced by a small company in a very short space of time. Naturally, since Toy Story became such a big brand success, other companies have taken a stab at producing the characters, leading to the release of the Toy Story Collection Buzz Lightyear in 2009, and frankly, one of my all-time favourite toys. It's still not 100% movie accurate, but it majorly shames the original Thinkway version, and if it had been released when I was a little boy, I surely would have bust a major internal organ had my mum presented it to me that day. But it wasn't, and so eventually I found myself playing with Buzz less and less. Later that summer, my uncle and his family went to Disney World, Florida, and noticing how much I love Toy Story, decided to pick me up a present, a pull-string Woody doll. I was very grateful that my uncle had decided to bring me home such an awesome gift, as it was nice to own the two main characters of the movie. But much like the Buzz figure, Thinkway's Woody was really inaccurate for the same reasons. The sizing was off, the padding made him look really fat, and for some reason he didn't actually have the spurs on his boots. I'm guessing this is due to some American health and safety law, but oddly enough I found myself playing with Woody more than Buzz. To this day, I still have no idea why, but Woody quickly became my favourite childhood toy. I played with him every day, both outside and inside the house. He would sit on my pillow guarding my bed during the day, and I would take him everywhere. And I know I've said that about a few other toys over the course of this month, but seriously, my mum had to stop me from taking him to school every day. Heck, there are photos of me attending a DeLorean convention when I was 8 years old, and in every picture, I'm holding the cowboy doll. I even have memories of him sitting on the armrest of the chair I was sitting on at my granny's house watching TV next to me whenever she was looking after me. He was my childhood friend and certainly my favourite toy. I've made sure that nothing's happened to him over the years and ensured that he hasn't been given away like so many of my other toys from when I was little. A few years after I got him, his pull string broke, and naturally I was devastated. I remember my mum trying to fix it, but it was no use, so she just sewed him up again and he was left without a voice box. Several years after that, I bought another Woody. This one had the voice of Jim Hanks and came with a crappy guitar. I took the voice box out of it and put it into my original. Yeah, it wasn't great, but at least he was able to speak again. I then had my current girlfriend at the time stitch him up at the back, and while she was at it, I had her add stitching to his arms and legs to make them much more free and floppy as they were in the movies. On top of this, I had some of the padding removed and had his vest stitched tightly onto his torso to slim him down. His hat would fall off on a regular basis, so I had it superglued on to make sure I would never lose it. Naturally, being the toy I played with the most as a kid, it has seen better days, but I don't consider this to be damage. It's It's more like evidence that this was a toy that was loved. It's like a book with dog-eared pages and a wrinkled spine. You know it's been read many times and therefore it's worth checking out. And of course at the bottom of his boot I had my mum write my first name, just like Andy did with his version in the movie. However, my mum was into writing my full name on everything I owned as a small boy, so she wrote my second name on the other boot, which I hated and tried to remove but couldn't as it was permanent marker, but I've always taken great care to trace over her original writing on my first name. My final bit of upgrading on this toy happened very recently when I went onto eBay and bought another version of the same doll. I swapped the voice boxes around, so now my original toy has his original pull-string phrases once again.
Howdy, partner. My name's Woody. You're my favorite deputy. Yee-haw, cowboy. There's a snake in my boot.
Beautiful. And to make sure the other doll I recently bought doesn't go to waste, I'll be giving it to my second cousin, and who knows, maybe it will become his favourite toy, much like my version of Woody did with me. After all, I did manage to get him hooked on Lego. I did mention the Toy Story collection range when talking about Buzz earlier, and yes, I do have the Woody doll from that line as well. And it is awesome. It's super screen accurate. It includes that interactive feature so you can talk to the other characters from the range and offers a ton of phrases. But here's the funny thing, this super accurate version of Woody just sits on my shelf with my other Toy Story merchandise, alongside my 1995 Buzz Lightyear, and it's this old, beaten up, inaccurate toy that adorns my main collection, alongside the Toy Story collection Buzz Lightyear. But why? As a toy collector and reviewer, I'm always talking about accuracy and wanting the things I review to look more like their on-screen counterparts, and yet one of my all-time favourite toys just so happens to be woefully inaccurate? Of course, it's all down to my nostalgic love for the toy that I had growing up, but still it was inaccurate when I first got it as a little boy, so why did I love it then? Well, maybe for kids detail and accuracy isn't that important. Maybe as a collector I've forgotten just how powerful the imagination of a child can be, and it's not about how close the toy looks to its on-screen counterpart. Maybe not looking exactly like the Toy Story version of Woody allowed me to make it my own thing. This wasn't Andy's cowboy doll, this was Steven's cowboy doll. The adventures I had with him were mine and not Andy's, therefore allowing me to play with him not just as a Toy Story character, but as something else. He truly was my plaything, something completely unique and individual to me, and that's perhaps all because of his inaccuracies. I'll always lead the charge for a better quality of toys, but that's more for the collectors who put them up on display where detail matters. But for the young kids, the only detail they really need is in their imagination. Nostalgia is exactly what I have for these movies, hence my ever-growing collection of memorabilia. But if there's one thing that rises above everything else on display, it's without a doubt my original, battered, beaten, but loved Sheriff Woody. And so that brings us to the end of this video. I really hope you liked it, and if you did and you're new to my channel, please hit subscribe for more videos and keep up to date with all my latest news and reviews by liking my Facebook page and following me on Twitter. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.